Are you or a loved one disabled? Do you feel alone, lost, and confused as to how to win your Social Security case? If you're watching this video, it's probably because you have so many questions and you're desperately looking for the answers. Hi, my name is Avi Leibovic, and I'm the owner at Benefits for All and the lead attorney at Avi Leibovic Associates. Over the course of my 20-year career, I've overseen the processing and screening of over 500,000 disability cases, working with the largest hospitals, neighborhood clinics, primary care physicians, and even individuals who had no access to care at all. My strategies for how to win the case have made me one of the top experts in Social Security law in the entire nation. My life and my career were going great. And then one day it all came crashing down. It started first with some abdominal pains. And before I knew it, I'd been admitted to the hospital several times and I required multiple surgeries. I found myself unable to work and disabled and in desperate need of my own benefits. I understand exactly how you feel. I was in your shoes. And I'm going to take you through the process and help you and give you everything that I know so that you can win your case. I'm recovered and I'm back at work. And I have a newfound passion for helping disabled people because I myself have been there too. Call our office today for a free screening and to see how we can help you with your Social Security case. At the same time, enjoy these videos and webinars that we've prepared to help you understand how to win your Social Security case. Hi everyone, this is Avi Leibovic and you're watching another one of the amazing webinars offered by Benefits for All, where we teach you how to win your Social Security case without the need for an attorney. I'm standing in beautiful New Hampshire in the White Mountain National Forest. Specifically, I'm in an area called the Lost River Canyon. It's just unbelievable and it's marvelous, and just when you think that it can't get any more beautiful or any nicer, you turn the next corner or you go over the next ledge and it's just more remarkable than what you just saw. The colors, the air, the smell, the sounds. I encourage all of you who can come and do this and check it out to do that, because it's something very special to see, and my friends in New Hampshire are very, very lucky that they have such beauty so close by to them. The topic of today's class is understanding on a very simple level the difference between SSI and SSDI. SSI is Supplemental Security Income, and SSDI is Social Security Disability Insurance. There's a saying, you're so lost you can't tell the trees from the woods, which basically means that sometimes when you're so lost in there, you don't know if you have an individual tree that was a landmark or you're in the middle of the woods, you're just so lost. And often I have people call me who are sick, they don't feel well, they're disabled or they will be found disabled, and they say to me, I need your help, you helped my friend win, I got your number, can you help me? And they just say to me, I want to apply. What do you want to apply for? I want to apply for disability benefits. They don't really understand what that means, and within a few minutes I realize that they are so lost that they can't tell the difference between the tree and the woods. The Social Security SSI, Supplemental Security Income Program, is a very different program than the Social Security Disability Insurance Program. They're two totally different programs. Usually a person will be eligible for one or the other, but there are times when a person is available for both, and that's called a concurrent claim, where they're applying for benefits for both SSI and SSDI. That's a concurrent claim. So how do we go ahead and understand the difference between SSI and SSDI? So let's keep it very simple. There'll be different webinars that will talk about SSI and the eligibility criteria for SSI specifically, and there'll be different webinars that talk about SSDI and the specific eligibility requirements for SSDI specifically. But for right now, we're going to go ahead and we're just going to keep it on a simple level to understand as an introductory lesson, so to speak, on the differences between SSI and SSDI. Sometimes I want to add that some people won't call it SSI, they'll call it Title 16, because it's within Title 16 of the Federal Act where the Supplemental Security Income Program is discussed. The same way with SSDI. Sometimes they won't call it SSDI, they'll call it Title II, because it's in the Title II of the Federal Act where the Social Security Disability Insurance Program is discussed. I want to turn around for a moment, just again to take in the beauty, to take in the colors, because again, I think having a moment every now and then to just take in the beauty and the nature of what's around you helps center a person. And even if you're home, you should go outside for a couple minutes every day and just take in the sunshine and take in the flowers, or take in whatever part of your area that you enjoy to help you get centered. So let's talk a little bit about SSI, and let's give a little bit of an introduction. The easiest way to understand the difference between SSI and SSDI is as follows. SSI is a needs-based program that is completely dependent on your income level, your poverty level, so to speak, and your citizenship level, whereas SSDI is a program that you pay into and that you've been paying into for a significant amount of time as you work. We all know that when we get a paycheck, we have to pay taxes on a paycheck, hopefully, right? You're paying taxes on the paycheck. You may have dependents and your taxes may get reduced, or you may get a refund at the end of the year, but you should be paying taxes. So whichever state you're in, at some point you should be seeing that there's some federal withholdings, and one of those withholdings are for Social Security. Now, everyone always says, oh, one day I'm going to get my Social Security, retirement money, and yes, there is the Social Security retirement money. But at the same time, many people don't realize that if you get hurt, there's also Social Security disability benefits which are available to you. So to break it up very quickly, you have SSI, which is a needs-based program based on money and citizenship and residency and income and resources, where whether you worked or not has no bearing on whether you're eligible or not. And then you have another program, which is a program, SSDI, where again, you've paid into the system every check, every quarter that you've worked, you've paid in and you've earned and accumulated credits, and the credits entitle you to a certain amount that's paid to you in the event that you're found disabled. You can go ahead and you can get a payment from the Social Security Disability Administration. So let's get into the main criteria of SSI, Supplemental Security Income. In order to be eligible for an SSI award, you must, it's not a voluntary, it's a mandatory. It's mandatory that you complete and you pass the following thresholds and the following criteria. And I look at them in the individual boxes. And I think if you yourself keep these ideas in boxes, then you'll be able in your head to kind of go down the box and say, box 1, check, box 2, check, box 3, check. And you'll be able to say to yourself, you know what, I meet the criteria or I don't meet the criteria. So let's go through the boxes for SSI. The first box in SSI, let me first list them and then we'll go through them. In order to be eligible for SSI, you must meet a citizenship criteria, you must meet an income criteria, you must meet a resource criteria, you must meet a residency criteria, and of course it goes without saying that you must be disabled, so you must meet the medical disability criteria as well. So let's break those down one by one. Let's start with residency. Residency is an often overlooked element. I often get calls from people who tell me that, hey, I'm visiting from, let's just say Las Vegas and I'm in California, or hey, I'm visiting from Hawaii and I decided to stay a few weeks, so where are you staying? I'm staying together with my family. Do you have a gas bill? Do you have an electric bill? Have you done something to attach yourself to the state that you're in? Do you have a driver's license? So in some way, a legal argument can be made that intent to reside somewhere happens at the moment that a person decides, I intend to reside here. But you're getting very, very into gray areas over here, because you can't really say to a person in the district office, hey, I intend to stay here, so therefore I'm a resident. Legally you can, but what I'd like for all of you to do so you have no issues is I'd like you, if you're going to establish residencies, make sure that either you have your name on an apartment, on a lease, make sure you have either a gas bill or an electric bill, make sure you have a driver's license or something that attaches you to the state. Because if you're not attached to the state and you're just visiting, then you already have an issue with residency, and even though you're staying with your friend or your cousin or your sister or your girlfriend or boyfriend or your parents or whatever it is, if you're not a resident of that state, you may have to go back to your home state and apply over there. So that's residency. You need to be attached to the state. Now, citizenship is going to have a webinar of its own, because citizenship is a very, very complicated area that you would think would be easy, but it's really not so easy when applying for SSI. And I'm going to encourage you, if you haven't paid for the deluxe package, to download, or the premium package, to download the citizenship webinar, because there are aspects of that webinar that you may fall into and that may not be covered in this introductory course. But on a short level, there's really two questions that I want each of you to ask yourself when it comes to, do I meet the citizenship criteria? in order to be eligible for SSI, you either one, are you a citizen, which is either easy, either yes or no. Either you were born here or you're not born here. Or number two, and if you're born here, then fine, check off, you're a citizen, awesome. But if you're not born here and you became a citizen, right, you became a naturalized citizen, or if you're a lawful permanent resident, you need to ask yourself, did you become a lawful permanent resident before August 22nd, 1996? August 22nd, 1990. What happened August 22nd, 1996? You'll have to go on Google. You'll have to watch Bill Clinton sign the act. Bill Clinton signed the act, and he enacted a whole bunch of rules and laws. And basically what they did is that anyone who became a citizen or a lawful permanent resident before August 22nd, 1996 is going to be eligible for SSI. If, on the other hand, you became a lawful permanent resident or a citizen after August 22nd, 1996, even though you're a citizen, you don't get SSI. So what does that mean? You came into the United States in January 2015 and you're a citizen. Are you eligible for SSI? You're not eligible. Why? Because you weren't a citizen before August 22nd, 1996. You may have been here before August 22nd, 1996, but it took you a couple years to do the paperwork, to work with the INS or whatever, the Immigration Naturalization Service in the U.S. government to fill out your forms. So even though you became here to the United States before August 22nd, 1996, but you may not have become a citizen until a little bit later on, 1998, 1999, 2000, whenever it is. Are you a citizen? A lawful permanent resident? Yes. Did you become and earn that status? Did you become a lawful permanent resident before August 22nd, 1996? If the answer is yes, then you're eligible for benefits, SSI. If the answer is no, then you're not eligible for benefits. So now we can go ahead and we can say, I understand what residency is, check. I need to be attached to the state. And I understand what citizenship is. I'm either a citizen, yes or no, or I became a naturalized citizen or a lawful permanent resident before August 22nd, 1996. If the answer is yes, check to the box. If the answer is no, uh-oh, I have a problem. I'm not going to be eligible for SSI. No matter how disabled I am, you're just not eligible. I'm sorry. Moving forward, we have three other areas that a person needs to match up with, and he needs to fulfill the requirements in order to be eligible for SSI. The next area is an area called income, right? What does that mean, income? Well, this is a very complicated conversation on its own. And again, I encourage you to download the webinar that will be just on income. It's complicated because we have an earned income and an unearned income. Earned income is you earned it. You were working, and a certain amount of money was coming in every month because you earned it. And then you have unearned income. Unearned income means passive income that was coming to you. That might be an alimony. That might be an insurance check. That might be a workers' compensation payment. There's some type of money or funds that are being distributed to you that you did not necessarily roll up your sleeves and work with. That's unearned income. When we're looking at earned income or unearned income for purposes of qualifying for SSI, it becomes very complicated because you're not just looking at you, the individual and claimant applying. When it comes to earned income and unearned income, and it comes to Social Security SSI benefits, there's actually a chart and a grid, which I encourage you again to download from our website if you purchase the proper package. And you'll be able to see exactly if you fall within the income thresholds that qualify you or if you don't. What do I mean? When it comes to SSI, the Social Security Administration is actually going to look at your entire family budget, your entire family unit. Under the roof of your home, who exactly and how many people exactly are part of that family unit? Is it you and your wife? Is it you and your husband? Is it the two of you and a couple of kids? Is it the two of you and a cousin? You want to know how many people are part of the family and that are living under the house. And it isn't just about the income that you earn as a potentially disabled person. It's also about the income that your spouse earned or your significant other earned, or if you're holding yourself out to be like a married couple, meaning it could be a domestic partner or even a boyfriend-girlfriend who are kind of living themselves like a common law marriage as if they're married. The Social Security Administration is going to count the income that your partner makes. So you may not be working, but if you're living under the same roof as your partner and your partner is making a certain amount of money, you may not be eligible under the income category depending on how much they make. Depending on how many children you have, you also may not be eligible. But you need to look at that grid because it will tell you exactly whether it's earned income or unearned income and whether there are several children or no children, whether or not you qualify under the income criteria for SSI. One more point when it comes to income, and the question comes up a lot, and these are one of those tips that everyone talks about, and they say, well, my husband earns a lot of money, but I'm disabled. Or, well, my wife earns a lot of money, but I'm disabled. But I'm not really having such a good marriage, and I plan to get divorced. Or we're separated. So I don't know how to say this in a nice way and in a delicate way. I know that it's 2016, and I understand that many, many people have a situation where they're separated or they're divorced or they're living in the home, they're not living in the home. Again, I go back to the main rule. Is the person living in the home or are they not living in the home? If you're married but they're out of the home, you're separated and they're out of the home, they're not going to count that person's income, even though you're still married. We've been separated, they're living someone else, they're not going to count that income. But if at the same time we're planning on getting divorced, but the person's still in the home, they're going to count that income. So again, that's a situation where you need to really be careful and understand what your status is with your significant other and how they're going to go ahead and count that income. So we have residency, we have citizenship, we have income. Let's get to resources. In order to be eligible for SSI, your resources levels has to be at a certain amount because again, this is a needs-based program. If you're single, you can't have more than $2,000 in resources. I'll explain what that means in a minute. And if you're married, you can't have more than $3,000 in resources, and I'll explain what that means in a minute. $2,000 for a single person, $3,000 for a married couple. Now, resources are generally cash, assets, things that have value immediately or things that can be sold for value immediately. It could be cash in the bank, it could be jewelry and diamonds, it could be stocks with a value, it could be life insurance, cash out values, it could be a whole host of things. And if you download the webinar that talks just about resources, I'm going to go through all those resources so you could say, oh, okay, maybe I'm above the level, maybe I'm not above the level. There are some things when it comes to resources that are not counted, meaning the Social Security Administration will not count your first home if you live in it. They also won't count your first car if you're owning it and using it. So what does that mean? In theory, you could be living in a big mansion in Beverly Hills, and you could be driving around in a Lamborghini. Don't ask me how you paid for it, but you have a Lamborghini or a Ferrari or whatever car you want, or one of those new Teslas. If you're using that Tesla, or you're using that Lamborghini or Ferrari, the Social Security Administration will not count that and they will exempt it, but they will count the other vehicles that you may have. If you're living in a big mansion in Beverly Hills, don't ask me how you paid for it, the Social Security Administration is not going to count that mansion, that home against you, even though it's worth millions of dollars. Well, this doesn't make any sense, Avi. How is that working? You tell me I'm eligible for SSI when I have a home in Beverly Hills or I have a Ferrari? And the answer is, if it's your first home that you're living in and your first car, the answer is yes. I have many cases where people call me and they say, listen, I have 3 cars and I have 2 motorcycles and I have 1 boat and I have a jet ski and a skateboard. What are they counting? What are they not counting? Right? What's the value? Well, you're going to go into the Kelly Blue Book, you're going to exempt the first car, and you're going to go through all of them. You need to have clean title, you need to know what's yours and what's not yours. Houses, I have 1 house here, and then I have a vacation house over there, and in Mexico, I have a little percentage of another house over there. It all gets very complicated. So you need to be clear on what you own, what you don't own, what you have title in, what you don't have title in, and working with a professional, or downloading the webinars, but working with an attorney or professional to help you navigate this will guarantee whether or not you are eligible for SSI and you'll be approved, or whether perhaps, unfortunately, you're wasting your time and going through all this when in the end of the day you're not going to be eligible anyways because either you're over income or you're over resources, or perhaps you're not a citizen or a resident, and that would be a terrible shame. Okay, so we've gone through residency, we've gone through citizenship, we've gone through income, we've gone through resources. The very last part to be eligible for SSI is, of course, the medical disability in and of itself. That is a very complicated conversation. Suffice it to say, I will just say for right now, you obviously need to meet the federal definition of disability, which means you need to have an impairment or a combination of impairment which will last 12 or more months and or result in death, and which prevents you from earning SGA, substantial gainful activity, right, which changes every year. I encourage you to download or purchase the webinar just on disability, on listings, and on impairments so that you can understand better what it means to truly have a medical impairment and be disabled, because this is very important. You may be disabled. God forbid, you may get in a car accident, you may be disabled from the neck down. You can't move, you're in a wheelchair. And you're saying, I'm disabled, I'm disabled, I'm disabled. The answer is yes, you meet the legal definition of disability, but that's only one of the 5 boxes. Are you a resident? Are you a citizen? Do you have income? Do you have resources? Are you above the level? You could be disabled from the neck down and in a wheelchair, never able to move, God forbid, but you cannot be eligible for SSI because you make too much money on the income, or your spouse makes too much money on the income, or you have too much resources, or you get the idea. I once had someone say to me, they were very sick and they needed the benefits. They said to me, well, you know, I'm disabled for sure. We all agree on that. And I'm a resident, I'm a citizen. The problem is that, you know, my spouse, my significant other, they make too much money. I said, yeah, that's a problem. As long as you're living with them, you're not going to be eligible for SSI. So the person leans over and they said, should I get divorced? I said, listen, I'm not here to solve your love life. That's between you and your significant other, whether you should get divorced or not. Whether they got divorced or not, I'm not going to say. But that is a solution to an answer, because if you're now divorced and that person's income is not attached to you, right, then obviously you're going to qualify if you didn't qualify before because they're making too much money. But I think that love has more of a value than actual money, and I don't think you should get divorced just because you'll be eligible for SSI, and that's just my 2 cents, but I'll leave your love life and your affairs to you. Okay, so we've covered SSI. We understand clearly what is residency, what is citizenship, what is income, what is resources, and what it means to be disabled. Let's move over now to SSDI, Social Security Disability Insurance. That's the program that we said is called sometimes Title II, and that's the program that we said that in order to be eligible for that, you had to have worked a certain amount of years and you had to have earned a certain amount of credits, which were taken off of your paycheck every month, right, and given to the government in order to qualify. Now, there's a couple of very, very, very important concepts when it comes to SSDI, and again, those concepts will be covered more in depth when we're doing the SSDI webinar, but let's just hit on them on a very, very topical level, on a very surface level, and let's see if we can kind of learn together a couple ideas. The first thing is how many credits do you need in order to be eligible for SSDI? So the answer to that is generally you're going to need about 40 credits, which usually comes to about 5 years of working, right? 5 years with the quarters of working. So for some of you, that's really easy to determine. You can either just call the 1-800 number for Social Security and give them your Social Security number and say, hey, how many credits do I have, right? But for others of you, that may be like, hold on one second, I just got out of high school, I'm 19 years old, I just started working 2 years ago, how do you want me to have 40 credits? And the answer is that the Social Security Administration, if you're a younger individual, does not expect you to have accumulated all these credits. After all, you just got out of high school. So there's going to be a sliding scale as to the number of credits that you need. And if this applies to you, again, either watch the webinar to learn how to navigate that, or go online or download the grid and table that we have online for you to determine how many credits you need based on your age. So generally you need a certain amount of credits, but there are more important concepts that have to go with SSDI. One of the most important concepts with SSDI has to do with something called a DLI, which stands for the date last insured. What is the date last insured? Well, let's put it this way. I'm sure everyone here knows what auto insurance is, right? You're either paying for your insurance and you're covered during that period, or you didn't pay your premiums and you're not covered. If you didn't pay your premiums and you're not covered, then you have a major problem on your hand if you get in a car accident. The reason you have a major problem on your hand if you get in a car accident is because if you're not covered, are they going to pay your reimbursement? They're not going to pay your reimbursement. You're not covered. Why should they pay your reimbursement? Of course they wouldn't. So the DLI is it's the same thing with health insurance. Did you pay your premiums and you're covered for health insurance? Or did you not pay your premiums and you're not covered for health insurance? If you didn't pay your premiums and you're not covered for health insurance, then if you get sick and you go to the hospital, the insurance company is not going to pay. So it's the same thing with the date last insured. Your credits that you earn while working expire. They have a time limit on them. When they expire, you are no longer insured and you're no longer able to make a claim for SSDI because your benefits expired. So when they say the date last insured, what we're saying is what date do your credits expire in? Now, if you've been working all this time and you just got injured or disabled or you got diagnosed with something, a month ago or 2 months ago and you're working right before that, you don't have an issue with the DLI because your DLI is going to go out usually for about 5 years after you stop working. On the other hand, let's assume that you're someone who will take a nice, good housewife, a Stepford housewife, who used to work when she was young and she earned credits when she was young, but then she had some kids and she decided to be a stay-at-home mom or a homemaker, and now that she's been living, her husband's been supporting her so she could take care of the kids. It's been a couple years since she worked, and God forbid something happens and she gets sick and she wants to apply for benefits. But she hasn't worked since, I don't know, 20 years ago. There's a problem. The problem is that her date last insured was probably 15 years ago, and those credits expired, and she has a big problem on her hands now because even though she's disabled, the credits that she earned are no longer good anymore, and they've expired. So the date last insured will prevent her from going ahead and accepting those benefits. Now, what happens on a date last insured again if it's a future date? Well, my credits don't go ahead and they don't expire, till 2020. Then no problem, you're good to go. You don't have to work necessarily. You can apply or not apply, but those credits will still be good until 2020. A couple more scenarios that you need to understand that have to do with date last insured. If you don't understand date last insured, again, I encourage you to download the webinar on date last insured, because if you don't understand date last insured, you will have a very, very difficult time succeeding, prevailing, and getting your case approved because you just won't understand what's going on. One of the most important things about date last insured is that your medical impairment and your disability must have begun. It must have begun before the date last insured expired. What does that mean? Let's assume that my date last insured, my credits expire on January 1, 2016. Well, I'm filming this is now September 2016. So someone says to me, well, I'd like to apply for benefits. They call me in September and they say, I'd like to apply for SSDI. Am I eligible? I said, well, what's your date last insured? Do we have enough credits? Let's call Social Security. We find out how many credits you have. Great, you have enough credits. Well, when do they expire? Are they still good? Uh-oh, we have a problem. Your credits expired January 1, 2016. We're now in September 2016. What am I going to do? They're expired. You told me 5 minutes ago that they're expired. I'm not eligible anymore. And the answer is, and it's not a trick, this is the law, and many people just don't know the law, and that's why you purchase this webinar. The answer is that if your disability began before the date last insured, before the credits expire, and you continue from that date until the present, or until the case is approved, to be disabled continuously from that month, meaning you did not go to work again at all since December 2015. From the time that they expired in January 2016, your impairment and your disability began before that, and you stayed disabled December, January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September. You can now apply. Why? Because you were disabled before they got expired. You continued to be disabled during the entire time that they're expired, and therefore you can go ahead and you can apply for the benefits and still use it even though technically they have expired. A caveat, you're going to have to make sure that you didn't earn over SGA during that time. Again, SGA is substantial gainful activity. It changes every year. It's somewhere around $1,000 or $1,100 depending on the year when you're walking in this. You can check it out on the web, or you can buy one of the webinars and see what date last insured is and what the substantial gainful activity is, SGA, so you'll understand this a little bit better. But again, if you started your impairment in December 2015, and then you were disabled, quote unquote, you didn't work for December and January and February. But then in March, you said, you know what, I'm gonna try to go back to work. March I worked and I earned over SGA, and April and May and June and July, I worked like 5-6 months in a row. It was great, I got back to work, and then I got sick again. You're gonna have a problem because you earned SGA over a certain amount of time, right, after your date last insured expired. Again, that was very complicated, so let me say that again. If your disability began before your date last insured and before your credits expired, and you were disabled, we said, from December, and your credits expired on January 2016, so you were disabled from December, or let's take a little bit early, October and November, and December and January, February, and March. And then you decide you're gonna work for April, May, June, July, and August, and then in September you got sick again, now you wanna file for benefits, you will not be eligible because you earned, if you earned over SGA, you will not be eligible because you earned over SGA. Now you can earn less than SGA and still be eligible, and that's a complicated concept again, which if you're following this and you're not lost, I encourage you to download that webinar and learn about it. You can earn more, you can earn less than SGA and it's not considered working, but if you earn more than SGA, you're gonna have a problem. Okay, so I think we've covered with Title II that you need to have credits, you need to have a certain amount of credits, you need to have at least 40 or work for about 5 years or so. If you're a certain age, we said that what? That you don't necessarily need to have all the credits, and Social Security has a sliding scale. We said that with Title II, with SSDI, you need to call Social Security Administration and find out if your credits are active and what was your date last insured, right? How much time do you have before they expired? Can you still apply? And there's another concept that you need to know. That's called a PIA, and that's the primary insurance amount. We said earlier before, in another one of the webinars, that when you win a case for SSI, it's going to be a combination, the payment of two different payments. One federal amount, which right now is $733 in 2016, plus your state supplement, whatever they add, right? So if they add $100, it's $733 plus $100 from your state. That means your SSI award every month will be $833. With SSDI, it's different. We need to figure out not only your date last insured, your DLI, we also need to figure out what? We need to figure out your PIA, your primary insurance amount. Your primary insurance amount is the amount that you will get if you're found disabled by the Social Security Administration. Now, how do they go ahead and determine what your primary insurance amount is? They determine if your primary insurance amount based on how much you have contributed into the program over the years when you worked. So if a person had a job and that job was a minimum wage job, or it paid them $10 an hour or whatever it is, then the amount, their primary insurance amount that they receive if they're found to be disabled will probably be on the lower end because they were only contributing in from a $10 an hour job. On the other hand, if a person was making $50,000 a year, or $100,000 a year, or $200,000 a year, or even $1 million a year, then their primary insurance amount is going to be much higher because they've contributed more in taxes and in payments to the Social Security Administration over the years that they work. So if they're found disabled, right, the primary insurance amount you get is going to be much, much higher than the SSI amount because that's just a federal and state amount. It's a poverty-based, needy-based program. The SSDI amount is going to be determined 100% based on how much you contributed. So what else do we need to know about SSI and SSDI, which I think are important for you to cover in this basic introduction? One of the things that you need to know is that when you file an SSI application, there is no retroactive benefits. No retroactive benefits. The date that you filed, you can only be considered to receive benefits from that day of the application and forward, right? Whether or not you win on that application date will determine what your onset date is, and if the judge found you to be disabled on that date, that's a different discussion. You should download the webinar on onset dates. But there is no retroactive benefits earlier than the application date on SSI. On SSDI, on the other hand, and those of you who are eligible for SSDI will really appreciate that, is that even though you filed your application in September 2016, you're able to go retroactive 12 months. 12 months. That's 12 months, so if it's September 2016, you're filing your application today, you can go retroactive to September 2015 and take the money that you're going to get and the disability onset date and move it back 12 months. So you have the ability to collect an extra 12 months now, even though that time has passed, and that's a special privilege that's given just to those SSDI potential beneficiaries that you can go retroactive. Other things that you need to know. If you win your SSI claim, not only will you get your SSI check, but you will also be awarded Medicaid, right? Or if you're in California, Medi-Cal. Part of the SSI benefit package isn't just the money that you get every month, the check. It is also the Medicaid health benefits that you will get. It's a terrific benefit. It lets you go to the hospital, it lets you go to the doctor, it lets you get medication. It's really something that's amazing. And when does that benefit start? Those benefits start after you've been approved 1 month, right? 1 full month. So if you got approved in the middle of the month, you have to wait a full month. 1 month after the date that you're approved, your Medicaid will kick in. SSDI, on the other hand, you do not get Medicaid if you get approved. You get potentially Medicare, which is an even bigger prize, so to speak. Because we know Medicare is just an amazing program that opens up a lot of doors for a lot of people who need to go to different types of doctors. So what does that mean you get Medicare? In order to get Medicare as part of your SSDI benefit package, you don't just get it after 1 month of getting approved, like we said for SSI, but you have to wait 24 full months plus a 5-month waiting period. So it's 29 months. Again, in order to get your Medicare benefits, not only do you have to get approved, but you have to wait 24 full months plus a 5-month waiting period for 29 months. So again, if you know how to calculate it, you can calculate it. If you need the help of an attorney, you can call our office. But if you want to find out when does my Medicare kick in, well, there's a couple pieces that you need to know. You need to know when did you file your application. You need to know what was your onset date. You need to add 5 months to your onset date and see if it was within 12 months. And then you can add the 24 months and you'll determine when your Medicare kicks in. Obviously, once you have Medicare, it's a game changer because the benefits that you can, the health benefits you can receive are just tremendous. And that's something very, very prized that every disabled person, especially a disabled person who's not going to have a disability that's maybe only a year or 18 months or 24 months, but if someone's going to have a disability that perhaps is going to go for years and years or perhaps their whole life, having the ability to go ahead and obtain Medicare and go to better doctors or better hospitals is something very, very important. So we've spoken a couple minutes now about SSI versus SSDI. On SSI, Supplemental Security Income, we said it's called Title 16 sometimes. On SSDI, Social Security Disability Insurance, we said it's called Title 2 sometimes. On SSI, we said that you cannot go retroactive when you file your application and earn benefits before your application date. Where on SSDI, we said you can go retroactive 12 months before your application date. On SSI, we said that you're going to get Medicaid or Medi-Cal 1 full month after you get awarded, right? With SSDI, we said you don't get Medicaid and Medi-Cal, but you can potentially be eligible for Medicare, but it's going to be 24 months plus a 5-month waiting period for 29 months. We went through SSI and we said, am I eligible for SSI? Well, that depends. You need to go through the checklist. Do you meet the checklist for citizenship? Do you meet the checklist for residency? Do you meet the checklist for income? Do you meet the checklist for resources? And do you meet the checklist for your medical condition? Am I eligible for SSDI? Well, let's go through that checklist. Do you have enough credits? Were you disabled before your date last insured, right? Are your credits still active, so to speak, and did you file your application within the same amount of time? All of that will determine whether or not you're eligible for SSDI. Now, some of you may be asking, just a quick point before we wrap it up, well, what about income and what about resources for SSDI? Do any of those make a difference? When it was SSI, it was a big deal if you're earning income. What about income with SSDI? And the answer is that, of course, as we said, in order to be found disabled, you can't really rolling up your sleeves and having earned income. Not with SSI and not with SSDI. But because you've paid in the system, you are allowed to have as much passive income or unearned income as you want. That means if you own a bunch of real estate properties and you're sitting home and someone else is managing them and you're just getting the money, you're going to be okay. That's unearned income. If you're receiving money, again, from a workers' comp or different things, there's different ideas, different concepts, different payment sources, which will be unearned income that will not affect your income level and will not disqualify you from being eligible for SSDI. Resources, there is no limit on resources. You could have $1 million in the bank. You could have $1 billion in the bank. You could have 50 properties and 50 cars. It doesn't make a difference. There's no cap on the resources. I think we've covered a lot. I think it's time to move on. I hope that this webinar helped you. I hope you now know the difference between SSI and SSDI. Am I eligible for both SSI and SSDI? Can I have a concurrent claim? And the answer is maybe. You have to just go through the checklist and see, well, do I meet the SSI and do I meet the SSDI? How's it going to work? And the answer, if it's yes, is that you can file a concurrent claim, but you might have something called an offset when it comes to payments, and I encourage you to download that webinar on what an offset is and how your payments will be affected. Overall, again, I am encouraged and inspired by all of you that you are trying to take control of your case, you're trying to take control of your life and management of your life and case, and to try to apply for benefits. I think it's an unbelievable, unbelievable thing. And at the same time, I think the fact that you've gone ahead and you've purchased these webinars, whichever package it is also a step in the right direction to help you win your benefits. How many webinars you purchased is up to you. Whether you feel you need to purchase more webinars is up to you. Whether you feel that you've started this process and it's a little bit more than you can handle and you're ready to call in an attorney, that's up to you. All the options are available to you, and I, Avi Leibovic, make a commitment to you that we are prepared to help our office. I think we do an amazing job and we have a track record for success. You can call our office anytime and get a free screening to see if you're eligible. And also, I think that you can anytime go to www.benefitsforall and buy more webinars and check out what we have to offer and consider us perhaps to represent you in your claim for benefits. Once again, I'm Avi Leibovic. I'm standing in beautiful New Hampshire in the White Mountain National Forest over here in the Lost River Canyon. It's unbelievable. It's beautiful. Come check it out. It's just unbelievable. I wish you the best of luck, and I wish you only continued health and success in everything that you do. Thank you very much.